мам сюжето не полова. Я козака не любити, коли чорні брови. І сама я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сама не вгадаю. І сама я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сама не вгадаю. Жито мам сюжето, колосочки. Я козака не любити, коли чорні очки. І сама я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сама не вгадаю. І сама я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сама не вгадаю. Жито мам сюжето не пшениця. Як дівчини не любити, коли чепуриться. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи плести, сам я не вгадаю. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сам я не вгадаю. Жито мам сюжето не ячмінка. Як дівчини не любити, коли українка. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сам я не вгадаю. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сам я не вгадаю. Що діяти маю, чи плести, чи брести, сам я не вгадаю. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сам я не вгадаю. Жито мам сюжето не гречанка. Як дівчини не любити, коли галичанка. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сам я не вгадаю. І сам же я не знаю, що діяти маю. Чи плести, чи брести, сама не вгадаю. Чи плести, чи брести, сама не вгадаю.
And Millennia from Edmonton opening up our program. And that was a song called Jito Mate, which translates as Rye Mother. Rye is in grain, but it's not really a song about grain. More like asking a mother's advice about love. Millennia from Edmonton with Jito Mate. Добрий день, шановні радіослухачі, та вітаю вас всіх на радіопередачу «Наш Холос» радіо українського коріння, яка подається вам сьогодні, так як і кожній середи з 11 до 13 години на радіостанції CHLY 101,7 FM у місті Nanaimo. При мікрофоні цю годину є Павліна, а наступну годину буде з вами Оксана. Дякую, що рішили перебути з нами наступних 2 годин. Ми маємо дуже цікаві новини на сьогоднішній програмі. Hello there and welcome to Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio, coming to you on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo. I'm Paulette Demchik-McQuarrie, po-ukrainske Pavlina, and I'll be your host for this first hour. Oksana will be here at 12 noon to host the show in Ukrainian. I'm delighted to have you with us. We've got a great program lined up for you in this hour. We have an interview with a Campbell River author, and she'll be telling us all about her brand new novel that's based on the life of her grandmother, set in Ukraine. And she'll also be in Nanaimo for an author reading next week, so we'll bring you all the details of that. Also on Ukrainian Jewish heritage, a review of a book about Ukrainian Jewish relations from ancient times to 1914. As well, we've got our usual proverb of the week, other items of interest, and great Ukrainian music, and it will all be focusing on mothers, since we just had Mother's Day, and we can never honor mothers too much. So we started out with Jito Mate, Rye Mother, and coming up next is the Todischicks from Winnipeg, Rosemary and Charlene, and here they are with Mamane Sorochka, A Mother's Blouse.
сорочка мамина, серцю мила, а сорочка мамина зіріпає, я її до серденька пригортаю, а сорочка мамина біла, біла, а сорочка мамина серцю мила, а сорочка мамина зіріпає, я її до серденька пригортаю.
Up next, from the Nash Holos audio archives, Ukrainian food flair.
Hello. We all look forward to strawberries and the summer season. This old-time strawberry and cream dessert is the favorite of favorites. It certainly is very easy to prepare, too. So get your pans ready for strawberries and brandied cream. You'll need the following ingredients. Sprinkle a 1/4 cup of icing sugar on the strawberries and allow to stand for 10 minutes. Whip the whipping cream with 2 tablespoons of icing sugar and 1 teaspoon of brandy or rum or vanilla. Fold strawberries into the cream mixture. Place in dishes and garnish with whole berries. This serves 4. Try it. It's Ukrainian.
This has been Ukrainian Food Flair from the Nash Holos audio archives. Vancouver Island is a well-known retirement haven, and it's always a pleasant surprise to run into retirees who had interesting careers, from diplomats to artists to former broadcasters. Many of those retirees also have interesting post-retirement careers as well, such as writing and publishing books, like Diana Steven of Campbell River. Prior to becoming a novelist, Diana worked as a family therapist, teacher, actor, model, and a freelance writer-broadcaster for CBC television. She's published poetry, a short story, and newspaper articles, and 3 novels. She just launched her 3rd and most recent novel, a family saga set in Ukraine from 1915 to 1929. She joins us now to tell us about her book and a bit about herself. So thank you, Diana, and welcome to Nash Holos.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm delighted that you reached out and that we connected. I feel almost like I've found a long-lost relative because we have so much in common. Not least of all, you're originally from Winnipeg, and you started your life speaking Ukrainian with your grandmother, and it was your first language.
Yes, it was. Yeah, my baba, Lucia Mazurik, moved in with my mother and father when I was about 8 months old, because Mom and Dad were working full-time, and Baba moved in to help take care of me. And I actually shared a bedroom with her for the first 15 years of my life.
And so you were with her exclusively, so you spoke Ukrainian.
I spoke Ukrainian to her, but what was interesting to me when I decided to write this story was realizing that she never talked about what had happened in the old country. And it wasn't until after she passed away that my mother started talking more and more about what had happened over there. And I guess I thought maybe Baba didn't want to talk about it because she didn't want to relive some of the sorrow that she experienced, because she went through a hell of a lot during those years. So much like soldiers, when they come back from war, they don't talk about what happened because they don't want to relive the horrors.
Well, yeah, PTSD, right.
Right, exactly.
Right, yeah. So tell us a little bit about your book. Tell us the story of your grandmother.
Well, it starts in 1915 with my mother's birth in Volhynia, which is an oblast on the western side of present-day Ukraine, but back then it was Western Russia. And it starts with my mother's birth at the time when her father has just volunteered to fight for the Tsar's army. And my baba, Lucia, is about to deliver this child. And so she is not too happy. In fact, she's very, very upset that he's decided to go off and fight.
Do you know why he volunteered? He wasn't conscripted.
He volunteered. No, I think he felt it was his duty. He felt it was the thing to do, and he also felt that it was a way of keeping the land that they had, that there was a threat that if he didn't volunteer, if he didn't cooperate in that way to do the patriotic thing, that they could lose the little that they had.
Your grandmother didn't understand that?
Well, they talk about it. There's quite the conversation at the beginning of the novel that doesn't go, I think, that well for either one of them. But yeah, no, she didn't understand because she was about to deliver her sixth child. She had, actually her eighth child. She had lost two before that. So, and she was afraid because the Germans and the Austrians were threatening invasion. It was imminent. And so she didn't know what would happen to her and the children and the farm if he left. So she felt abandoned. The threat was very real.
So they wanted to keep the Russian Empire intact. What about the Bolsheviks at that time? Did they figure into this?
Well, that happened a little later. The story covers the years 1915 to 1929. So that was around 1917, the Bolshevik threat. And then, with the Romanovs, the Tsar and his family, as you know, were executed.
Right.
So, anybody who had been in their army, all of a sudden also under threat because anybody who favored the Tsar. So in the civil wars that followed, there were, I think, at one time, more than 5 different armies fighting one another.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there was the typhus epidemic. It goes on and on. Baba ended up in a refugee camp in the Caucasus, which is the eastern part of Russia at that time. They had to flee. So, when I got in touch with those horrific times, I got to appreciate her in a whole different way. She was this woman who, she wasn't sad or morose. She was a hard worker around the house, helping my mother and my dad and helping to raise me. She sang. The Ukrainians like to sing after dinner, but never talked about back then, Not не говорила за ті часи,
Yeah. Well, that's how it was. That generation didn't talk much. Those in Canada, my grandparents came maybe 10, 15 years before the start of your story. So, I guess your grandmother came, it was the interwar immigration?
It was the second wave. She arrived in 1929.
Okay.
Yeah. With what was left of her family. I don't want to say too much about it.
No, don't want to give the story away. No, for sure. But there's so much history that people don't understand. It's good to know, the historical setting. And so by the time she came, she'd been through a horrific experience and likely suffering PTSD.
Well, what was interesting for me too, Paulette, is I thought I had enough to work with when I started writing this story. My mother, when she was alive, she was a natural-born storyteller, always said, this would make a good book, Diana. And I didn't think too much of it until later my granddaughter, Chloe, said, Bubby, she called me Bubby, you should write this book. And so I began and then discovered that there were so many holes in the story. So I had to do so much research. I went to the Vancouver Library, the Winnipeg Library, the Toronto Library. I was in New York City going through there. I had, online, I had ordered some books to review. And I even went to Stamford, Connecticut, which has a huge library of Ukrainian and Russian books. And I also consulted with a professor of Slavic Studies from the University of Manitoba.
Oh, which one?
Oleg Garis.
Oh, yeah, my old prof, one of them.
Really? Yes,
He's
his
amazing.
father was a priest in our church, in Winnipeg.
I didn't know that. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes, I was quite fortunate to have him as a resource, and as I say, and to be able to find everything I could find, because, as you know, so much was burned in the old country, like our family records during the wartime, and all of that. So, it was a lot of digging.
Yeah. And the conversations you had mentioned at the beginning when he signed up and volunteered to go and fight, did you have any family records of that, or was that pretty much conjecture?
That's my mother's anecdotes. I mean, some of that, because my mother tended to repeat those stories, so she was a very good oral storyteller. And as she aged, what I did, because Mom would go from one story to the next without stopping, and to get through those visits, because sometimes I found that hard, even though I love my mom.
Sure.
I would take my laptop with me to my visits with my mother, and I would start writing all these stories down.
So she remembered from her childhood, or was it conversations with her mother, your Baba?
It must have been from conversations with her mother, because she would talk about her birth. So there were these anecdotes all the way through. And as I said, I originally thought of writing it as creative nonfiction, but then because I had to, fill in the blanks and imagine certain settings and conversations and create these supporting characters, I ended up having to write it as fiction.
As fiction. Now, you have written other genres.
Yeah.
You've had quite an interesting career. Teacher, therapist, broadcaster. How do they all fit together?
Well, they don't. I think, and even like with my writing now, I've written 3 novels with 3 very different genres. And I think it's because I'm a very curious person. I tend to follow whatever kind of inspires me or what I think I might want to try next. And I have a very eclectic career.
What did you start out doing?
Well, I graduated first with a degree in home economics from the University of Manitoba, and worked as a home ec teacher in Winnipeg. And then got married, actually. And then when my husband went into social work, I decided that was an interesting career. So I went back and got my Master of Social Work and trained to be a family therapist. It was a relatively new therapy back in 1972.
Right.
So all of my novels, I think, really focus on relationships, on what drives us all, what motivates us, the love that we have and that we need.
How long did you work as a family therapist?
I graduated in 72, and I stayed with that till about 96, 97. I worked in a psychiatric ward. I worked in a community mental health center. I worked in a residential treatment center for children who the Ministry of Human Resources didn't know what to do with. I worked in employee, family, and assistance programs. I was a director of a nonprofit agency that provided those kinds of confidential counseling services to people in the workplace. And then I became a regional manager for BC for a for-profit national counseling firm. So, I worked with lawyers and chart accountants and janitors and teamsters that came to me for counseling. And I think that was my favorite work out of everything I did, was just being there, listening to people's stories and encouraging them to make some changes in their lives that could improve,
Well, that tendency to be a good listener would have served you well working for the CBC. How did you get into that?
Well, that's a strange story, Paulette. Well, along the way, even though I was doing this social work practice, I was always interested in acting. And so I started taking classes, and before I knew it, I was going twice a week to scene study classes in Gastown Actors Studio. Sorry,
this was in Vancouver?
Yes, it was in Vancouver. So I did 2 years of classes and took numerous workshops and became a professional actor on the side. So anyway, one of the things you do in your training is you start out maybe as an extra. You do background work. And I met this kickboxer who was doing stunt work on this movie. And he was telling me he's going for the World Kickboxing Championship in Australia. Tony Morelli was his name. Anyway, I thought, this is a good story. And I forgot to mention, too, that I think previous to my taking the acting lessons, I was volunteering at Delta Cablevision on my day off from the residential treatment center. I was working 4 days a week at the Children's Foundation in Vancouver. And the 5th day, I would go down to Delta Cablevision and learn to be, an on-air host and do television work. So that was volunteer, right? And I developed a resume tape of clips from the programs that I did for them. So I went knocking on doors. I went to CTV first, met Cameron Bell, who was head of news, and he basically told me what did I think I was doing. I wasn't trained and didn't have a degree in journalism. I was 40 years old. He says, "You're not young anymore."
I can relate.
He said, "No, I'm sorry." So then I looked up my TV guide and found the program Sports Journal on CBC. I looked up who was the producer. It was Brian Schechter at the time. So I phoned them up cold, and they agreed to meet with me. So I went and pitched the story, and they decided to try me out. So I set it up, and they provided a cameraman, and we went out and we did the interviews with Tony Morelli.
Mm-hmm.
And then after I did that, I asked, well, I've got another story idea. And it went from there. And I worked at CBC for a year as a freelance sports writer broadcaster. Yeah, I took a year off from social work because I had burned out by then.
Yeah.
And then I went back in the field.
And so what was your last job then? What did you retire from?
My last job was working as a family therapist in private practice.
Okay.
I had one in Fairview Slopes in Vancouver. I had a nice office in my home, and clients would come and see me there for couple therapy or family therapy or individual, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then around that time, our daughter, who lives in Campbell River, had a child. It was our first grandchild. And she was coming to Vancouver once a month. We were going the next month to see her. And it just wasn't enough to see our grandson. So we decided to pull the plug and move to Campbell River and help her fill in, when she needed some support for the family.
Oh, so you've got your family here. Well, that's really nice. And so in between babysitting your grandchildren, you decided to start writing novels?
Well, I always liked to write. I mean, I was a member of the Manitoba Authors Association back when I was in my 20s in Winnipeg, and I wrote a couple of newspaper articles back then, but I didn't feel that it was a way that I could make enough money to help support the family.
Right.
My husband was a social worker. Well, actually, before that, he went back to school. I mean, it wasn't a reliable source of income.
Mm-hmm.
And so I couldn't rely on it, but I've always dabbled in writing.
Mm. And now you can do it.
Now I can do it. Now I feel very fortunate that I can spend my time at the computer and just write. So I feel very blessed. Yeah.
So you've got 3 novels, and you do mostly women's fiction?
Yes, I would say there's a common thread. They're all women's fiction, although I've had lots of men read them and tell me they've enjoyed them too.
So what is the title of your most recent?
Sunflowers Under Fire.
Okay, and why did you choose that title?
Well, originally it was Lukia's Lot, and someone else said Lukia's Story, but I couldn't actually see that on the bookshelf, and it took me a long time. I went through many titles. Anyway, I stumbled upon the fact that sunflowers is the national flower of Ukraine, and that a lot of brides carry bouquets of sunflowers at their wedding. Mm-hmm. And then, with it takes place during wartime, Sunflowers Under Fire just seemed to speak to me.
Yeah. So you launched the book on May 7th?
Yes. At the Campbell River Library. It was lovely. I did an author reading and then talked a bit about, again, like the title, how that came up, and about my Baba. So, it went very well. And then I've got 2 more author readings, one on May 17th at the Courtney Library. And there I'll also be doing a bit of a PowerPoint presentation to show how I approached the writing of this novel, what kind of resources I used. And then on the 24th in Nanaimo, I'll be doing the same thing. At the Nanaimo Harborfront branch, I'll be doing an author reading plus a bit of a PowerPoint presentation.
So that's Friday the 24th at 2 o'clock?
Yes, they're both at 2 o'clock, the 17th in Courtney at 2 and Nanaimo at 2.
Okay, and your book then obviously will be available if people would like to pick up a copy?
Yes, I'll have some available at the Nanaimo branch. And it's available online as well.
Okay. How can people get it online?
Well, it's available on Amazon. It's available through Chapters Indigo online and through Draft 2 Digital, if people are familiar with that, on iTunes, on Google Play, on Kobo.
So it's everywhere. In other
yes.
words.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Thank goodness. Yeah. So it's both as an ebook and And I hope down the road to do an audiobook, but I'm not there yet.
Okay. So people can get in touch with you. You have a website and Facebook?
Yes, you can get in touch with me at dianasteven.com, like my name. And I'm on Facebook. It's facebook.com, dianasteven.author. And my contact information is there, my email. I'm on Twitter. I'd be happy to connect with anyone.
Okay, well, that's great. It's wonderful to connect with local authors. So thank you for sharing your story, for telling us about your book. Good luck with your presentations coming up, and I'm sure they'll go very well. And just to repeat again, here in Nanaimo, it will be on Friday, May 24th, so a week this Friday at 2 p.m. at the Harborfront Library. And you can meet Diana there, get a copy of her book, find out how the book was written, and make contact with the local author. So thanks again, Diana. All the best, and hope to talk to you again soon. Good luck with your next book after this one.
Thank you, Paulette. Дуже дякую вам.
Okay, дякую. I was speaking with Diana Steven of Campbell River about her new novel, which she'll be doing an author reading at the Nanaimo Harborfront Public Library on Friday, May 24th at 2 p.m., where you can get a copy of her book and meet the author. Hope to see you there. And in the meantime, you can keep up with her at her website, Diana Steven, that's Stevan, www.dianasteven.com, or find her on Facebook, dianasteven.author. Ви слухаєте радіопрограму «Наш голос» радіо Українського коріння на радіостанції CHLY 101.7 FM у місті Nanaimo. При мікрофоні цю годину є Павліна. You're listening to Nash Holos, Ukrainian Roots Radio on CHLY 101.7 FM in beautiful downtown Nanaimo. I'm your host this hour, Pavlina.
Moja старенька, люба моя мамо, коли б дорогу знала ти сюди, пішла б одна глибокими снігами шукать мої заметені сліди. Полярну ніч і холод краю комі, ти б все чи перемогла, та жаль тобі, дороги незнайомі, крім тих, що є круг нашого села. Моя ти рідна, не сумуй, не треба, і не розпитуй в цій краї доріг. Я, може, сам ще повернусь до тебе, коли розтане цей холодний сніг. І на твої уже тремтячі руки після розлуки я чолом схилюсь. Не плач, матусе, од біди розпуки. Я повернусь, скоро повернусь. Не матусе, от біди розпуки, я повернусь, скоро повернусь. Скоро повернусь.
And a duo from Montreal called Previte, which means welcome. And that is from their first CD, Berech Nadi, Shores of Hope, released back in the 1990s. And that was Mark Bednarchuk and Roman Kostic, and a song called Mamo. Up next is another group from Montreal, and this is a group that Previte has done some collaborative work with. They are called Chirumshena, a wonderful trio, and here they are with Oichutila Menemate. My mother wanted me to marry a musician.
Ой, хотіла мене мати за музику заміж дати, а з музики там маляра, ой, нема вдома господаря. У неділю піде грати, понеділок ляже спати, а у вівторок сяде піти, ой, як середу жінку бити. У четвер він похмелиться, а в п'ятницю поправиться, а в суботу купить струни, ой, та й на друге село суне. Бо в неділю знову грає, в понеділок пропіває, прийде в хату, треться, мнеться, як ляже спати. Одвернеться,
And now for a look at Ukraine's rich Jewish heritage, then and now, brought to you by the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter based in Toronto, Ontario.
In this edition of Ukrainian Jewish Heritage, we will be discussing a journey through the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter from antiquity to 1914, curated and written by Alti Rodal, the co-director of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter. A journey through the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter from antiquity to 1914 was originally a traveling exhibition shown in 6 venues in 4 Canadian cities, Toronto, Winnipeg, Edmonton, and Montreal, between May and September 2015. Its 36 panels examined the history and interactions of these two peoples, living side by side on Ukrainian lands. The panels featured texts, graphics, photographs, paintings, and maps, as well as short videos and recorded music. In 2018, Alti Rodal, the co-director of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter, expanded on the exhibition's narrative to explore the multidimensional relationships between Ukrainians and Jews inhabiting the lands of today's Ukraine. In the introduction, Rodal tells readers, "Our aim is to present an integrated narrative that looks at the experience of these two peoples together in all its complexity, through periods of crisis and episodic violence, as well as long stretches of normal coexistence and multifaceted cross-cultural fertilization/cultural interaction." The resulting book, A Journey Through the Ukrainian-Jewish Encounter from Antiquity to 1914, was published in English and Ukrainian. It was awarded first prize for museum exhibit catalogs at the 5th Triennial All-Ukrainian Museum Festival in Dnipro, Ukraine, in September 2018. The book is divided into two sections, Antiquity to the Partitions of Poland and the two parallel eras, the long 19th century, 1772 to 1914. The first section examines the interactions of the two peoples, beginning in antiquity, moving to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth period, and concluding with an examination of Hasidism and Hebrew-Yiddish publishing on Ukrainian lands. Using straightforward text and relevant graphics, issues discussed include Jewish settlement in Ukrainian lands, Ukrainian serfdom, Jewish cooperation with Polish magnates, Khmelnytsky's uprising and the consequences for both Jews and Ukrainians, the Uman massacre, the rise of the Uniate Church, and the rise of Hasidism. The second section of this book focuses on the experience of Ukrainians and Jews in the Russian Empire, as well as the Austro-Hungarian regime up to 1914. It deals with difficult topics, such as the pogroms in the Russian Empire. However, it also highlights trends in Ukrainian Jewish political and civic cooperation. There is a focus on the cultural renaissance experienced by both Ukrainians and Jews during this period. This section concludes by examining emigration to North America. Although this volume may be compact in size at only 169 pages, it is full of relevant information, insightful historical analysis, detailed maps, and graphic elements, as well as historically significant paintings and photographs. Readers of all ages will learn a great deal about Ukrainian and Jewish history, culture, religion, economics, and demographics in the land that is contemporary Ukraine. Young readers would particularly enjoy this book because of its simple yet interesting text, along with wonderful graphic elements. Each section is focused on the overall aim of the book, to build mutual comprehension and solidarity between the Ukrainian and Jewish peoples worldwide. Alti Rodal is one of the original founders of the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter and chair of its academic council. She is a historian, writer, former professor of Jewish history, and official advisor to the Government of Canada. Born in Chernivtsi, Ukraine, she completed her education at McGill, Oxford, and Hebrew universities in the fields of history and literature. Her research and writing has focused on aspects of identity, Jewish history and culture, and intercommunal relations. A Journey Through the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter from Antiquity to 1914 is available in English and Ukrainian PDFs and print versions from the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter website. I'm Myra Janik in Toronto for Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio. Until next time, Shalom.
Ukrainian Jewish Heritage is brought to you by the Ukrainian Jewish Encounter based in Toronto, Ontario. To find out more about their work, visit their website and follow them on Facebook and Twitter. Transcripts and audio files of this and earlier broadcasts of Ukrainian Jewish Heritage are available at their website, ukrainianjewishencounter.org, as well as at the Nash Holos website, www.nashholos.com.
Рідна мати моя, ти ночей не доспала, ти водила мене у поля край села, і в дорогу далеку ти мене на зорі проводжала, і рушник вишиваний на щастя дала, і в дорогу далеку ти мене на зорі проводжала, і рушник вишиваний на щастя на долю дала. Хай на ньому світе розсяниста доріжка, і зелені луги, солов'їні гаї, і твоя незрадлива материнська ласкава усмішка, і засмучені очі хороші твої, і твоя незрадлива материнська ласкава усмішка, і засмучені очі хороші блакитні твої. Я візьму той рушник, простелю, наче долю, в тихім шелесті трав, щебетанні дібров, і на тим рушничкові оживе все знайоме до болю, і дитинство, й розлука, і вірна любов. І на тим рушничкові оживе все знайоме до болю, і дитинство, й розлука, твоя материнська любов.
And another traditional Ukrainian folk song on a mother's theme. This was Zirka doing a kind of a Zabava rendition of an old-time waltz of that song, Ridna Mate Moya. Up next, the female beat from Winnipeg with another traditional Ukrainian folk song, Oj ne chode Hretsiu, Don't Go Out in the Woods, Greg. And it was, of course, made into a North American hit back in the 1940s, Yes, My Darling Daughter. Here's the female beat from Winnipeg with an instrumental version done in a foxtrot.
man who never had any luck at all. He'd go on a date and then he'd wait, patient for her call. But then it seemed his luck had changed, and everywhere he went, he had a woman on his arm, and they looked so content. I asked him what the secret was that made his life so nice. He said, my Ukrainian grandmother gave me some great advice. She said, if you like her pierogies, she'll like your kubasa. Listen up, you little dogies, it's a universal law. 'Cause some like buns, some cabbage rolls, some even like coleslaw. But if you like her pierogies, she'll like your kubasa. Now some men think that all it takes is a fancy car. Some men think that money will make up for who they are. Some men think it's flowers and chocolates and you'll score. But if they listen to their grandmother, they'd all come back for more. 'Cause you can read of Mars and Venus, you can even pass the test. But if you're lucky enough to be Ukrainian, Baba knows best. She says if you like her pierogies, she'll like your kubasa. Listen up, you little dogies, it's a universal law. 'Cause some like buns, some cabbage rolls, some even like coleslaw. But if you like her pierogies, she'll like your kubasa. Everybody now, you like her pierogies, she'll like your kubasa. Listen up, you little dogies, it's a universal law. 'Cause some like buns, some cabbage rolls, some even like coleslaw. But if you like her pierogies, she'll like your kubasa. And of all the advice that you could be taking, you can like them plain with sour cream or with bacon, and you like your kubasa.
Jaden Chornaboy from Steinbach, Manitoba with the Dear Mother Waltz. Дорога моя мама. Цю годину була з вами Павліна. Нагадую, ви слухайте радіопрограму «Наш Холос», радіо нашого коріння. Залишайтеся з нами наступну годину. Далі передаю мікрофону Оксані. Запрошую послухати трохи про історію і традиції, розповість Оксана. Але перед тим я хочу залишити вас такими словами мудрості. Хто в матері поради шукає, той усе щасливий буває. And our proverb of the week translates as, whoever seeks a mother's advice will always find good fortune. And that brings us to the end of the first hour of Nash Holos Ukrainian Roots Radio here on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo. Please stay with us as Oksana takes over the microphone to host the next hour. Meanwhile, please join me here again next Wednesday from 11 a.m. till 12 noon. And until then, do stay in touch with both of us via our Facebook page and Twitter. In between broadcasts, please visit us online at our website where you'll find transcripts, audio archives, and the podcast feed, and that's at www.nashholos.com. So stay tuned next for the Nash Holos Ukrainian Hour with Oksana, followed by Wellness Wednesday to learn how to be healthy naturally. And at 2 p.m., join Gord Bibby for 2 hours of great oldies on Groovin' with Baby G. I'm Pavlina. Thanks so much for listening. Do zустрічі.
Казала мені мати, сину, жінися, не ходи пойно, чатай волочися, не ходи пойно, чатай волочися. Тому я не винний, що переназемна, яку мама мала, так мені дала, яку мама мала, так мені дала. Зачекай до Петра, вона буде тепла, зачекай до Івана, буде файна, зачекай до Івана, буде файна. Казала мені мати, сину, жінися, не ходи пойно, чатай волочися, не ходи пойно, чатай волочися. Тому я не винний, що переназемна, яку мама мала, так мені дала, яку мама мала.